Hi, I'm Anders. I'm with Habitat for Humanity Anchorage. I manage the Restore here in Anchorage. The Restore is it's kind of a building material thrift store. Think Home Depot meets Salvation Army kind of a place. I took over there about a year and a half ago. It's been up and going for about 8 years. A little bit about Habitat and all this, but first of all, thank you very much for everyone's being here, and I think it's kind of fun to see some of the other organizations and what everyone's doing. And when Shane called me a couple days ago and said, "Hey, do you guys have something you'd like to present?" I was like, "Yes, we do. We have several things that we're interested in using your guys' skills for." And he also asked me, do you want to do a PowerPoint presentation or anything else? And I said no, partly because I didn't have one ready, but also it would kind of it would lead you to believe that we're that technically advanced, to have PowerPoint. Does anyone know what one of these things is?
Yes.
Collator. Does anyone not know what this is? Yeah. So unfortunately, we do know what it is, and that's what we're hoping to avoid. It's a collator for collating papers, and we do way too much of it. I think this was invented like in 1895 or something. And so we're trying, and we actually just advanced to this high-tech solution like 3 weeks ago, and so we're trying to move forward here. It's a collator, so it's if you want to alphabetize a bunch of papers, you take a bunch of papers and put it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, put it in paper. So if you're trying to sort papers, it makes it much faster than they did in like the 1880s. Yeah, so it's it's not something you'll ever use. So hopefully you can avoid it like the plague. So real quickly about Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity is an international organization. We're focused on poverty housing. Our goal is to eliminate poverty housing from the face of the earth. That's a lofty goal. We'll probably always have work to do. But we work in about 80 countries around the world. It was started here in the U.S. in Georgia, grew from there. It's about 40 years old, the organization. And it's all based on local effort. Habitat will never go into another place and build for someone else in another community. Not that we don't care about them, but because it's always based on that local effort, local volunteers doing that work there locally. So it's all based on affiliates, and you could think of it as like a franchise or other kind of local chapter, however you want to describe it. But the local affiliate here in Anchorage started 20 years ago. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. In those 20 years, we've built over 70 homes here in Anchorage. All of our homes are built with volunteers, and it leads to home ownership. That's one thing that's a little bit unique about the way Habitat for Humanity works, is we involved homeowners. We look for homeowners in a certain income bracket that are basically the working poor, that are stuck in that middle ground, that they'll never, or have a very difficult time reaching that next level. Habitat comes in, we partner with them, and by partner we mean we're working with them. They're helping us build their house, they're helping build their neighbor's house, they're helping at the Restore, they're helping throughout the organization. And that's why a lot of people within Habitat, we hardly even like to call ourselves a charity, because we don't give things away. We work with people that it's a hand up, not a handout. And so it instills a lot of pride in our homeowners. It develops a very strong community because of the volunteer engagement. We have, last year we had nearly 2,000 volunteers coming out to our job site to help us build. It develops very strong community bonds. There's lots of stats of what Habitat does to communities. It tends to lower crime rates. It does a lot of things. So Habitat's a great organization. But the projects that we're hoping to do with with your guys' help is some basic office kind of administrative things. There's no maps, I promise, in this proposal. So one thing that we do is donations. When we get in a donation at the Restore, people come in and they bring us materials. They bring us kitchen sinks and lighting and all that kind of stuff. And we use another antiquated bit of technology of a carbon form. We do this, we describe it, we put the donor information on there, we tear it apart. We keep the yellow copy, they get the white copy. And this goes into a file. And as far as our data set that we have, it's a big file about this big for last year's files, and you don't want to go and enter it. What we're wanting to do is make it so the future data that we get in is usable. And that's actually where we use this, is we're taking this data and sorting it and resorting it by hand and bringing it into Excel. It's a horribly inefficient way of doing it. What I foresee is basically a form that we can put in the donor information, and then we can say, do you want it printed, do you want it emailed to you? And we spend a couple $1,000s a year just printing these stupid forms. And that we could reduce those costs. We can make it more efficient for the donors. It's easy, that's in their emails. Also, the end of the year, especially this time of year, we're getting requests saying, hey, I donated something to you last March, do you have a copy of that receipt? And so we're sitting there flipping through files and stuff trying to do it. So if we can make it searchable on our end, say, yes, we can track that donor. We know that when this person has come back several times, we started tracking, like we have contractors who are donating stuff on behalf of several clients throughout the year. So when this person comes back and says, hey, we know that Acme Construction has come to us 15 times this last year with donations, we want to be able to recognize that and know where our donations are coming from. We're looking at relocating our store, so knowing what part of town they're coming from, so knowing zip code information. All that stuff is just information that we can grow with. So that's it's kind of a trifecta. So the donation thing, it's the same thing with our, we have a similar kind of problem with our volunteers. Like I said, we have 2,000 volunteers, individual volunteers coming out. Each day, each volunteer signs up with one of these. They put in what work they did and what house they worked on. And all this stuff gets hand entered into a spreadsheet that then gets somehow lost. And we just sort through mountains of paper trying to just volunteer sign in of the time they put in, what project they're working on, their contact information. And the third thing is a request book, which is, again, people, because it's a donation-centered thing, people say, hey, if you ever get in a left-handed smoke shifter, let me know, and I'll come and get it. So this is our really high-tech solution for keeping track of what people want. It's again. It was better than just the I'll try to remember solution we had before, but it's still a solution that we need a fairly simple way we can have a database say, yes, we just got in a left-handed smoke shifter, who wants something like that. And so if we could have the donation thing and this thing linked together, that'd just be icing on the cake. But some way to, thanks, you can throw that against the wall or whatever you want to do. That's my phone. I'm not giving her a hard time. That's my phone that's ringing there. So those are just a couple of things. Those, the donation receipts, the request book for materials customers are requesting, and that's a huge way that we raise money for Habitat, and it helps us grow that efficiency. And the keeping track of our volunteers and volunteer hours, those three things are all kind of basic database things. Some of the receipt things, would love to do like an Android app, because some of the technology we've gotten in there I've kind of forced in by using Android apps that we use for barcode scanning and stuff. But so we have some wireless Android apps. We can do PCs. There's a couple of different variety of solutions we can do, but that's kind of what we're looking for in a nutshell. So, any questions? Yes.
I was just wondering how many people would be doing data entry, and how many users would be handling the electronic end of it?
Yeah. So the a couple different things. The donation forms, that would be basically the resource staff and volunteers, which is on any one day a couple of people. We'd have like a station either at the counter if it's a desktop oriented thing, or we could have it on a tablet with people basically there at the store. And then we have a truck that goes out and picks up donations. So if that driver could be out in the field doing it with a tablet and say, hey, we'll email it to you or mail it to you. So it's just a few, kind of trained people that'll be doing it, and then sending it to the customers. The volunteer sign-in thing would be, all of our volunteers. So that needs to be something very simple, very easy to.
It's like an end-user client computer.
Yeah, so it's kind of a kiosk sort of a
like
thing.
This is right up my alley with the Google Docs that have you can make a free Google account. You
Yeah.
can also work with them, but they have a form entry,
Mhm.
and through that, you have a spreadsheet that you can use JavaScript to shoot emails to other people. It's very verbose. There's a lot of ways of making it
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, and I've looked at the Google thing a little bit, and I would love to, because I'm not an expert in it. But one thing, like with the volunteer data, there is some criteria to that data that we have to be able to. They have to be able to sign in and then sign out. So they have to link that to the same person. We want to be able to say how many hours did this person do, because we track our volunteers for several reasons. Sometimes people are doing it for work. They say, hey, I get credit if I come and volunteer instead of coming to work. Some people are doing it for community service. Sometimes we have it for grant stuff that we need to be able to verify people's stuff. So it's sign in, sign out verifications. And I don't know if the Google thing can do that, but if it is, then that'd be awesome. And then but like the donation, thing, that might be a good, if it can be something where we can send out a form saying this is your donation and stuff like that. Yeah.
Google may work with the domain, and you register, and you can administer and have analytic reports. But I also have another developer friend of mine, another route, relatively cheap, is FileMaker program, and he does develop, and he has worked with nonprofits before.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard the name Ice Cape Technologies. His name is Craig Wall.
That sounds familiar, but is it a local here?
He's local.
Okay.
He's doing a lot of work for my company, so
Yeah.
Actually, one or two more questions, and
Sure.
we have a presenter who's trying to open up a fashion show today. So.
Do you have access?
Yes. Yes. In fact, we have a donor database, and I'm pretty sure I was trying to verify that before I came over, because it's not something I deal with. But I'm pretty sure it's a Microsoft Access driven system.
Okay,
Yeah, and so and it's a software called Keystone, but we use it kind of, but I don't ever use it. It's not part of the restore, so I try to avoid it because it's a mess that I don't want to get into. But I believe it's an access-based system. Any other questions? And so yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.